He had everything people told him to want: the job, the suit, the apartment, the respect, the invitations, the conversations with people who smiled like they had figured life out. And from the outside, nothing looked wrong. He looked successful, stable, focused, important. But one night, standing in a room full of people, holding a drink he barely wanted, listening to laughter he didn't feel part of, one question crossed his mind. Not loud, not dramatic, just honest. People saw the version of him that worked: the calm handshake, the clean shirt, the confident answers, the calendar full of meetings, the phone that never stopped lighting up. They saw the promotions, the dinners, the photos, the places he could now afford to be in, and to them, it looked like progress. It looked like discipline. It looked like proof that he had made it. But they didn't see what happened after, when the room got quiet, when the suit came off, when the messages stopped. When he sat alone in a beautiful apartment, surrounded by everything he once thought would make him feel complete, and still, something inside him felt untouched, not broken, not destroyed, just strangely empty, like his life had become impressive, but not intimate, like everyone else could recognize his success except him. At first, he thought he was ungrateful. How could he feel this way when so many things were finally working? He had stability, comfort, options, a life many people would call good. So he stayed quiet, because complaining felt wrong. Questioning it felt selfish, and admitting the truth felt dangerous. But the feeling did not leave. It followed him into meetings, into elevators, into expensive restaurants, into quiet Sunday mornings. A strange thought kept returning. Maybe he had not failed. Maybe he had succeeded at building a life that never truly fit him. The problem was not the success. It was what he had traded for it. Little by little, sir, he had learned to become acceptable, reliable, polished, impressive. He learned what to say, how to dress, when to smile, when to stay quiet, what parts of himself to hide, so the world would approve. And at first, it worked. People respected him. Doors opened. His life improved. But every time he became more useful to the outside world, he became less honest with himself. And after years of adjusting, performing, and becoming what people rewarded, he started wondering if the man everyone admired was even real. He used to think success would make him free from worry, free from doubt, free from feeling behind, free from proving himself. But the more he achieved, the more his life became something he had to maintain. The better job needed more energy. The nicer apartment needed more money. The stronger image needed more control. The higher he climbed, the less space he had to breathe. And nobody warned him that the life he once dreamed of could slowly become another kind of pressure. Not a failure, not a disaster, a beautiful cage, built from everything he thought he wanted. There was a time when every achievement felt alive. The first promotion, the first serious paycheck, the first time he could buy something without checking his account first. Back then, success had emotion. It meant movement. It meant hope. It meant he was becoming someone. But now, the winds came and went. A message arrived. Another goal was reached. Someone congratulated him, and he smiled. But inside, nothing really moved. He did not feel proud. He did not feel excited. He only felt relief that another expectation had been satisfied. And that was when he realized he was no longer chasing success. He was just trying not to disappoint anyone. At some point, success stopped being something he had and became someone he had to be. The responsible one, the strong one, the one who always had a plan, the one who never looked confused, the one people expected to keep rising. So he kept performing the role, at work, with friends, with family, even when he was tired, even when he was unsure, even when all he wanted was to admit he no longer knew what he was doing. But the more people believed in the version of him they saw, the harder it became to show them the version of him that was quietly falling apart. The strange part was that nothing looked wrong. His days were organized, his bills were paid, his clothes were clean, his name was respected. People asked for his advice, people trusted his judgment, people assumed he was doing better than most, and maybe in some ways he was. But looking right is not the same as feeling real. A life can be clean and still feel disconnected. It can be successful and still feel empty. It can impress everyone around you while quietly leaving you behind. And that was the truth he kept avoiding. He had built a life people understood, but he was no longer sure he understood it himself. He started noticing a distance, not from other people, from himself. He could speak well, but not say what he really meant. He could laugh at the right moments, but not feel fully present. He could sit at a table, surrounded by people who respected him, and still feel strangely alone. It was not loneliness in the usual way. He had contacts, messages, plans, invitations, but connection requires more than being seen. It requires being known. And somewhere along the way, he had become very visible, but not very honest. People knew his image, his work, his answers, his success, but almost no one knew what it cost him to keep looking fine. For a long time, he avoided the real question, because the real question was not, "Am I successful?" He already knew the answer. The real question was, "Is this the life I actually wanted?" And that question was harder, because it did not attack his job, or his money, or his achievements. It attacked the story underneath everything, the story that said, if he worked hard enough, proved enough, earned enough, became impressive enough, then one day he would finally feel at peace. But peace never came. Only the next target, the next expectation, the next version of himself he had to become. The painful part was realizing how little of his life had been chosen honestly. Some choices came from fear, fear of being judged, fear of being behind, fear of disappointing people, fear of not being respected. Other choices came from comparison. Someone else had more. Someone else moved faster. Someone else looked happier. So he kept adjusting, kept improving, kept climbing. But not always because he wanted to. Sometimes he was only trying to outrun the feeling that he was not enough yet. And after years of chasing that feeling, he finally saw it. He had not been building freedom, he had been building proof. The more honest he became, the more he saw the difference. There is success that expands you, and there is success that slowly removes you from yourself. One makes you feel more alive, the other makes you feel more approved. For years, he had confused the two. He thought respect meant alignment. He thought comfort meant peace. He thought achievement meant identity. But sometimes, the world rewards the version of you that your soul can barely survive. And that was what hurt. He had not failed. He had adapted. He had become capable, useful, admired. But somewhere in the process, he had abandoned parts of himself that no applause could replace. For the first time in years, he stopped trying to fix the feeling. He did not buy anything. He did not set a new goal. He did not open his phone to distract himself from the silence. He just sat with the question, is this really mine? This life, this pace, this version of success, this person everyone keeps congratulating? And the answer did not come quickly, but something changed, because the moment he stopped running from the emptiness, he realized it was not there to destroy him. It was there to tell the truth. Something inside him was still alive enough to refuse a life that only looked good from the outside. He did not need to destroy his life. He did not need to disappear. He did not need to prove anything to anyone, but he needed to become honest again. Honest about what gave him energy. Honest about what drained him. Honest about which parts of his success felt real and which parts only existed because he was afraid of being misunderstood. Because a meaningful life does not always look impressive from the outside. Sometimes it looks quieter, simpler, less performative, but it feels different. It feels like breathing again. And for the first time in a long time, he realized maybe the goal was not to become more successful. Maybe the goal was to stop abandoning himself, just to look successful. So maybe the question is not, how much more can you achieve? Maybe the question is, how much of yourself are you willing to lose to keep looking successful? Because one day, you can wake up inside the life everyone admires and still feel like a stranger in it. Not because you failed, but because you followed every rule, except the one that mattered most. The rule that says, your life should not only look good, it should feel true. And if something inside you keeps whispering, is this it? Maybe that question is not the end. Maybe it is the first honest thing you have heard in years.